So the one is really about what is the vision of the company and where are we going for that? So that tells me too, like, what if people all know the right direction that the company is going in. One, I asked, does the team come up with what to build, or is it directed from top down? So I always ask that to like product managers, like who came up with the idea. That I'm seeking to learn that question. So learn the answer to that question. So the stuff I ask is like to the product managers, tell me about the last thing you released. Who came up with the idea? Was it you? Who set the goals? Like, how did that work? Explain the whole process to me. So I'm looking at, is it coming top down, or did they organically get a goal and figure out what to build? What was the last product you decided to kill? That one's a big one. I see so many organizations focus on shipping the amount and the quantity of features instead of the quality. And everything gets so complex, right? Like we have just all these features like piling up everywhere, and we've got things that nobody knows how to use. So I always ask them, when was the last thing you killed? If they haven't killed anything, I know that there's no culture of experimentation in there. There's always just build it, just build it. When's the last time you talked with your customers? So any product manager, I ask them, like, when's the last time you talked to your customers? When's the last time you visited them? When's the last time you got some feedback for them? Talk to them on the phone. If they haven't talked to their customers, it's been months. I know there's not a good feedback loop there. What is your goal? That one's the hardest one. I ask people, like, what is your goal? And they always give me an output-oriented response. Ship this feature by February. And I say, okay, but why? Like, what's the business goal under it? And if they can't tell me what the business goal is or what they expect that feature to do, at the end of the day, I know there's not a lot of thinking of why we're doing the things we're doing behind there. And there's probably not a lot of focus. I know that the feature is probably coming from management still. So that does help with the top-down stuff. And that there is no culture of talking about why we're doing the things we're doing. So that stems to like a whole bunch of company issues as well of, we're probably doing too much. We're probably not doing things strategically. We're probably not having a good strategy at the top of the company or a vision or something to anchor us. So that usually is one of my biggest, that's my most important question to answer. If nobody knows what their goals are, then we have like a big problem. And then I ask people, like, what are you currently working on? And the product managers who are very customer oriented talk about their customers and the problems they're solving for them when I say that. So it's like, oh, I'm building this really awesome, I asked this for in one of my interviews with a senior product manager who worked for Oscar, and she released the step tracker that gave you the Amazon gift cards. And she was like, well, we were really trying to figure out how to get people to engage in a more healthy lifestyle. And we found that like walking correlated to getting people a little more healthier. So we figured out how we can incentivize them to do that. So I ended up building this step tracker and partnering with people. Like, she explained to me why she was doing it and how it provided customer value. Whereas other people who are focused on the features flip it and say, like, we're building a step tracker that, and you'll have all these fun little features in it, right? But they're not talking about why they're really doing it or like what the value is for the customers. And then the last one I don't ask the product managers, I ask everybody else in the organization. I said, how would you describe your product managers? Like, what are they like? What do you think is good? What do you think is bad? In organizations, you can get a lot from the team, right? To see how effective a good product manager is. And if you're ever, if you're ever like a product manager curious about what you're doing, right? Have some third party ask your team what they think of you. And then you can really see if they're doing your job well. I have some places raved about their product managers, and they were like, they're awesome. They allow me to do the best job I possibly can do because they include me, and they talk about the goals, and I know why I'm doing it. And I've seen so many developers like in love with their product managers because they work so well together and they lead them, and they've got such a great working relationship. And then I've seen other developers or UX designers as well who are like, they don't involve me. They go out, they do user research on their own. They throw me over the requirements, and it ends up in more of a waterfall type environment. And you can really learn a lot, I think, just by asking the people who work with product managers what they think about their product managers.